The clockwise direction here in Blue Dome, never favored me that much. I didn't really crack the code. It was the original direction that I really thrived in and really loved. But yeah, the atmosphere here is always something to thrive off. It always gives you an extra gear.
All right, here we are racing, ladies and gentlemen. Luke Lamperti
is sitting around,
not waiting for anybody. Fresh off the Giro, this is his first race back since the Giro d'Italia in Italy. He has been an instrumental part of that Quick Step program this season, leading his teammates to victory on World Tour races. And Lamperti goes full gas from the gun just to show these boys who's back in town.
Yeah, I'm just excited for it to see again, like where his legs at, where's his head at. I mean, his head's at racing, right? That's why he's here.
Yeah.
You don't show up to Tulsa and not race, but it's how much time did he take off the bike after the Giro? How did his body respond? From that workload. And so, as we saw in previous editions when he showed up, is definitely in the mix these early nights, but the masterclass that he put on at Crybaby Hill is really where his depth and his talent and his ability truly showed. So, I think the Giro is just going to give him extra gear to just be ever present, not let himself get too far, from the front and in trouble.
He looks so comfortable, but we have a lot of bike racing left here, and it looks like Rainstorm Racing with Michael Hernandez and Alfredo Rodriguez at the front right now, as Alpecin DCC also rejoining us with those distinctive black and leopard colored prints. Andreas Meyer out there up near the front. One of our great riders that has joined us here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Over the past few weeks, we've had a nice build into tonight. Everybody puts Tulsa on their calendar, but to get here, you have to race yourself into fitness. Starting a few weeks ago at the Easton Twilight Crit and the 79th Tour of Somerville, most of these teams were present for those races, building themselves with a little bit of speed and fatigue. They then moved on to the Armed Forces Cycling Classic for 2 days of amazing races, including Clarendon Cup, which is the race of turns, as it is known. Is also a very long race, which builds a lot of fitness into the legs. All of it pointed towards Tulsa, Oklahoma. It looks like riders taking a little bit of a risk there on the outside with Robin Carpenter on the front, but tonight it means a lot for everybody. This is Robin Carpenter on the front for Legion of Los Angeles as he is setting this tempo. Carpenter having an amazing national championships in the middle of May in Charleston, West Virginia. And Carpenter just absolutely one of the young talents to watch out here this evening. But everybody has been building themselves up for Tulsa Tough over the past few weeks of racing. And tonight we're going to see the culmination of all of those efforts. The talk of the Ride with the Pros last night was just how much the riders are looking forward to racing with us here. Look at this, Michael Garrison and Luke Lamperti going shoulder to shoulder. Let's talk a little bit about Michael Garrison. We talked about him when we watched Athens Twilight a few weeks ago, and we have also talked about him when you and I were working together down in Anniston at Sunny King even a few weeks ago, months ago now. Garrison is one of these riders to watch, no teammates at all, yet he seems to find himself at the pointy end of races and on the correct side of splits in races.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming off the action program, right? He's graduated out of that in a tough market to not find himself. Maybe a full team and there's a crash here as we see coming up, and that's Tanner Ward from the Legion program, an Empire rider. Who else of note is potentially in that?
Maybe
we'll see as they come into the pit here.
Looks like maybe Brandon Fury of Austin Outlaws. Perhaps I'm going to get an ID on that for us here.
But yeah, it's just the ability just clearly oozes out of him. I mean, he's got so much talent and ability. And it looks like Tanner was maybe the first guy to go down on the outside of that crash, and you have Nashville cycling follow him, and then silly mistakes further back in the field. I mean, guys just clearly not with their heads up and using the brakes that come installed from the factory on their bikes.
All right, that does look like Brandon Fury out there. He's now in the Outlaws kit. Another actual mid-season shuffle for our Williams Racing program. Fury was just traded to the Austin Outlaws from Miami Blazers about 2 weeks ago. And so Fury now riding number 14 in the pits, one notable rider that we will have a look at in the finale. Field still all together, though, right now, as we see the gray jerseys and blue helmets of Legion of Los Angeles up near the front. Legion releasing their kits last night at the Ride with the Pros, and they also did a little bit of a meet and greet hosted by Brad Soner. It looks like you have Robin Carpenter and Ty Magner, the two riders tasked with early pace setting this evening for our Friday night at Blue Dome here at St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
I think it's Ty just wanting to be at the front, stay safe, not necessarily expend a lot of energy and get caught up in some silly stuff. But it's definitely Robin at the front that's creating a spot for the teammates to be. But now we have Summerhill, Jastrap, and Brown from Ribble maybe off the front, creating some space.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get
number
an idea.
50,
92 maybe. Hard to tell there on that focus, but at 92 there, I believe, is Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
All right, so Ribble Rebellion putting himself in. Ribble is a program out of England, and they've been racing very aggressively. They came over for USA Crits. Who is that guy in green? Who is
It's
that?
a new team, though. I see a couple jerseys in here, all in green, unmarked. New to us?
They clearly think
Question
they
mark,
need
is this
to weld
Team Z?
Team Z, maybe, on our start list. But Team in green thinking they need to weld things back together, and that will be played to the benefit of the other riders in the field. So that breakaway neutralized early on, thanks to the green team. Looks like Team Skyline with the Alsos shoulder. Am I right there?
Yeah, with the Alsos monogram shoulders. New team that put together. That's kind of Skyline of old coming together with the Cadence Cycling down in Texas to build this new pro team. They spent a lot of time in Italy, over in Europe, so giving those riders on that program some exposure, but just come to the biggest races here in the U.S.
All right, so field staying together here as Team Skyline on the front, doing a little bit of work just to keep themselves safe. This is a point in the race where you really are just trying to keep yourselves in the right position. It's very early, but look at that, Lamperti just riding smooth. It's my understanding that when you start racing World Tour level stuff, your sort of threshold like shifts or something. Like, what is that about? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, Zone 4 becomes Zone 3, and Zone 3 becomes Zone 2, and Zone 1 doesn't exist anymore. You just have this ability to sit at this uncomfortable pace for long periods of times, because that's just kind of where you're at, most of the day. And this is Tanner Ward, as you see, got his bike fixed with a little bit of road rash, and now Michael Garrison on the front taking his flyers. I mean, this is what we've come to know of this rider and expect from him, is to not sit around. And he's got Robin Carpenter, I believe, and Lamperti with him. And I mean, those three guys get together to start swapping off. I don't know who's going to bring him back, but Summerhill is wise enough to not let that get any kind of leash to get into trouble.
Danny's so good. I wish we got to listen to him, because he was very excited about racing here. He wears number 1 on his back as winning the Omnium last year. He had a great breakout sort of moment for him. Now, Danny is obviously an amazing rider. He was on UHC. He was on the national team. He's raced professional cyclocross in Europe. But winning here in Saturday last season was massive for him, and it helped accelerate his trajectory into winning the ACC.
And of note, his socks are probably 8 years old now at this point, I think. A fun fact about Summerhill is once he finds something he really likes, he does not let go of it. But Garrison, I mean, on a 1-lap tear, and it's single file still. How far back? I mean, they are 50, 60 riders single file, and I really, as a fan, I just want to see Robin pour it on, Luke pour it on, Ribble continue the pace, and see the single file racing.
You're gonna need lights and stuff. All right, so you've got Robin Carpenter on the front, Garrison right second wheel, Luke Lamperti in third position.
And this is like one of those moments, right? Like, you have coaches, mentors tell you, like, ride towards the front, stay at the front. Because if we look at the action that's happened in the first 10 minutes, the pace is on at the front, but in these moments where it starts to bunch, the front gets to rest. You get these micro 10, 20, 30-second moments where when you're in the back and it's single file, you're still on the pedals. You are still chasing, putting out energy, while the best guiders in the front of the race get these micro rests. And that just compounds minute after minute, lap after lap, and it what makes the middle and the back of these races so hard, especially when everybody's fighting for every one position to get up into this, bubble of recovery that nobody wants to give an inch and carry momentum. So it's a blessing and curse, not being too far forward and get caught up everything, but you end up spending a lot more energy at the back chasing. I mean, all these guys right here going through the start line, chasing, not recovering, while we see all these guys now just getting a little bit of time to coast down through 2 into 3.
Big old Johnny Clark on the front right now for our Miami Blazers.
Maybe the oldest guy in the field.
Perhaps. He also brings the most experience, and so Johnny Clark showing us what's up, and the riders behind definitely know that he is one to watch. Summerhill doing a nice job keeping himself out of trouble, but we saw that little bit of a hesitation. Thanks to All American Pain, by the way, for their drone coverage of the St. Francis Tulsa Tough through all 3 days of racing with us here. But with that drone shot, we were able to see that it was single file, and Johnny Clark countered that move immediately. Here we see now Luke Lamperti putting himself right back up at the front of this field. We got riders. Lamperti's entering, turn 5, and we still got riders coming out of turn number 4. So, yeah, it's a bad day to be at the back half of St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
Yeah, most definitely. And Johnny Clark has been one of these guys that found a spot within the Williams Racing organization, and was a key figure probably to Lucas Bourgon's big win in Easton.
Yeah.
Very much a guiding force, an old hat like that with so much experience in any conditions. And Easton was pouring wet on a technical course, and you have this guy that's just evergreen and can just stay calm in any of those things that I would imagine throughout that whole race was just, a voice of reason with Lucas and saying, hey, don't panic, we're going to take care of you. And they made that happen.
We're seeing our field all sort of mixing here. Great shot here by our All American Pain drone shot as we are seeing a little bit of swelling at the start-finish line, but riders at the back starting to open up gaps and
just sprinting to make up room, while the front is just hanging out. It's very fine edge of moving up efficiently, but needing to put out big watts to make up positions.
This is Alpecin DCC coming over to us from Germany. That second wheel, that's definitely Andreas Meyer. We'll try to get the number of this first rider as he comes through. Number 33, that's going to be Victor Perez Abuela Maldonado. Maldonado on the front of the field with Andreas Meyer. Meyer is definitely a rider to consider for the finale, I think. He likes a long, hard race, and these guys seem to have found the right place to try and find that type of race dynamic. But it's still plenty of laps to go. Anything can happen as we see a little bit of shuffling occurring here as we're twisting through while Alpecin DCC is there. We may see a little bit of a reshuffling here on the outside by Lamperti as he comes up on the outside as he moves up through to keep himself safe. Luke Fetzer, it looks like, in the pit for Austin Outlaws. Fetzer, quite the accomplished rider already, I believe, for himself.
Young rider in that WR Devo organization, just kind of picking up as much tips and tricks from all the older guys around him to a young talented rider that just with some guidance is going to be a danger guy as the years tick on.
All right, well, we'll see our riders as they come by here, and Fetzer will get thrown in here from the Williams Racing neutral support. And look at this, we've got ourselves, is that Eder?
That's Tyler Williams.
Oh, that's Tyler, excuse me.
Yeah, another guy that you give him too much space and it could be a real problem for you. And Luke kind of finding this balance of how much work he's going to take on, but also that needs to push to the other teams. in other riders, that's of note that we're not seeing quite at the front yet. Partly is it's strung out and they're taking their time to get there. But Brian Gomez, Alfredo Rodriguez from the Rain Storm Energy team. Summerhill is up there with the call up, just kind of keeping tabs on and probably relaying some information there. Noah Granigan from the Blazers has not found himself towards the front. Another guy that just has a big engine and a key lead out guy to that training, to that team.
So riders already looking around, looking at fighting for positions here as Fetzer out of the saddle there momentarily as he was trying to get himself onto terms with the sort of the jockeying for position. He has the ability now, his reserves are just that much deeper for himself as we see him just continually float at the front repeatedly for this race. I mean, it's a hard thing to do, and he makes it look quite easy in the first few laps. So does Robin Carpenter, frankly. Carpenter's been having a really good first 15 minutes of this 75-minute competition.
This is Robin's first year at Tulsa.
What?
As I found out last night with Rider of the Pros, I spent a few minutes, chatting with him and, asking him about, as it's his first year, what is the, legend of Tulsa? And he's just hears about just the energy and the chaos that the first night and everything brings to it. So he's excited. I asked him what day he thought was a good day for him potentially, and he mentioned Crybaby, and that definitely on paper goes to him. And I just said, think about Brady Arts, in that course design, and I think you could be a dark horse there, as it's a very strongman type course of a guy that can really ride efficiently on hard courses.
Yeah, Robin had a really good national championships going toe-to-toe with the World Tour riders that were there in the breakaway for that course. That was a very hard course overall. And he also, of course, he was third at the Athens Orthopedic Twilight Criterium this year in the breakaway, driving that move. Got caught out a little bit there by Thomas Gibbons in that evening of racing, but
yeah, he took a massive flyer, kind of one lap early, maybe played his cards. And we talked about it yesterday on the ride of just you're part of a big organization, you have a name that you do end up getting marked out, and if you're just not 100% sharp to just crack it that much when you're at this elite level and everybody's the same, it's rolling the dice and you can get a little caught out.
That's Nick Kiernan for Parks Law Firm, presented by Omnia Racing. So Nick Kiernan showing us what's up. He is from Texas, so not too much of a drive for him, but he has drawn out some
Johnny Clark, Summerhill, and Brown, Bostock.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Cole Davis.
Oh, Cole Davis, the American. He was on Q365 previously in Europe racing. The Southeast boy that kind of has come through the ranks and really put himself, found himself on this UK squad.
Okay, cool. So Cole Davis marking that move, putting himself up early in the right spot at the right place at the right time. Are we seeing any sort of, I see Mr. Justin Williams sort of floating himself in the little bubble zone there. You can tell he's got that GoPro on his helmet with the Red Bull helmet in the back. Do you think he's floating in a comfortable spot?
Yeah, he's just trying to find where that, safe washing machine is, that it just kind of, people around him are always moving up and he can find a wheel to just stay in that top 20, but he doesn't necessarily need to poke around the top 10, top 5 even. He's got teammates, but he definitely needs that spin to energy, find that sweet spot of rotating bodies there in that 20. And also a little right around Justin over left side of the screen, a blue helmet with gold lettering is Noah Granigan starting to find himself towards the front. So we're likely to see some action out of him once he gets up there and gets a lap off after moving up.
I saw Luke Lamperti and Ty Magner chatting a little bit with each other as they were coming up through the start-finish line. So it seems as if gentlemen's agreements starting to occur here just to make sure that they know where each other are. See Alec Cowan there, your Canadian national champion. Cowan now living in Texas, actually, so not too much of a drive for him, but Cowan very much a part of the success here last year. There's a nice little cutout head. Did you ever get anybody make a cutout head of you?
No, but I had T-shirts made for a couple of years.
Oh, man, you always got something here in Tulsa. All right, so you got Carpenter on the front. I think that's Mr. Cole still, and then Cowan there in the Canadian National Champs kit. And
Hernandez for Rain up there.
Okay.
Starting to just help Summerhill out as they move forward, and Alfredo Rodriguez just back there. And Mac Dorf has now made his way up there riding for the Empire team out of Salt Lake City.
One of your favorite riders.
It was so exciting last year. Young guy out there, just trying to really figure himself. Show his face, show his ability, find himself a squad. Surround himself by some good teammates.
I just saw Spencer Mavanzoda out there. He was looking very comfortable out in the mix. So oftentimes in this early phase of the races, we're not talking about people too much, and that doesn't mean much. They could end up being very much a factor later on. I also see Corey Williams with the gold helmet hanging out near the back.
Jastrab taking a flyer. Oh no, that's look who it is. Number 36. That is Mac Dorf.
No way.
He's listening to the broadcast.
Mac Dorf.
He's got the audio.
I didn't know Mac Dorf had a feed helmet on. How about that?
How about that?
All right. So
he's well fueled. He's got the right stuff in his bottles and strategy. Looking good.
So tell me a little bit about Mac Dorf. How old is Mr. Dorf, and what is he known for in his region?
I think he's just a young guy. I mean, I think he's 21-ish, 22. If you look at his Instagram, skier, outdoor guy. One of these young guys that hasn't quite found a place on a super big team as of yet, but uses these opportunities, these ACC races, to make a splash and show his ability.
Okay. Well, we'll see how long this succeeds for him, and we'll try to get some eyes on what the gap might be. A rider like Mac may get a long leash here because
he does have a long leash.
He's not really on a program that has necessarily found success in the past at these national level races. Alec Cowan looks like he's on the front trying to flick the elbow to see if Johnny Clark will come through and assist a little bit. And now Michael Hernandez rolling through to try and help keep the pace moving.
Yeah, so Mac, right now has just got to get his, aero position on the hood, tuck the elbows in, and just settle into a nice, uncomfortable pace, and take this opportunity of being kind of an unknown rider to most of these guys to extend this gap, relish some time off the front, and again, you just never know what happens. They give him 20, 25, 30 seconds, and all of a sudden get really active behind, and a group of 4, 5, 6 guys come up to you, and now you're in the winning breakaway potentially.
I'm counting 9 seconds. That's unofficial. That's just me looking at a bike race. So about 9-second gap for Mac Dorf as he comes through. The foreshortening on these lenses here makes it a little hard to tell just how big it is. But one solo rider, Mac Dorf, and he's got about 120 guys chasing him down, including Mr. Williams here on the front.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Tyler's doing. He had a big get-off at Armed Forces day one at that 40-plus mile-an-hour sprint. So that's where those bandages come from. So he's had a week to kind of grow some skin back, loosen back up. So we'll see how that plays out for the weekend. But evermore, he's going to be a consummate teammate. Again, he's got Lucas Orgon on his team. No. Blazers.
On Blazers? So Blazers,
Outlaws.
we got Blazers, we got Richard Holek, Noah Granigan, Tyler Williams, Eder Frere, and Corey Williams.
Yeah.
Corey also taking a digger at Armed Forces Cycling Classic. He actually talked a little bit about how that crash affected him yesterday at Ride with the Pros, saying that he's feeling a little beat up here, and so he may be trying to have the best slow, fast race possible, which means that these guys have perfected the art of making sure that they can get through these very fast races with the least amount of energy expenditure as possible. That's definitely a skill set that requires a lot of practice, and the Williams brothers are quite good at that. McDorff's gap down to about 2 seconds. So McDorff will get caught here momentarily thanks to the hard work of our Legion of Los Angeles crew. And a reset will occur. We'll see if any counterattacks come off of this catch by McDorff. And this green team seems very motivated to keep things together.
Who are you and where are you from? Let's get a number on these green guys and figure out what this team is. And 104.
Hello.
Give me 104, Gabe.
I'm going to look for a 104 here on this old sheet. That guy is Pablo Zapata for Team Casa 13.
From New York.
So Zapata actually got third at Torres Somerville, racing for Alpecin DCC.
Oh, so we've had some shakeups.
Yeah, we've had some trades occurring apparently in the past 2 weeks.
General managers are busy moving talent around.
Okay. So yeah, Team Casa 13 is out of New York apparently. Michael Wasserab, Marcus Bloom, Pablo Zapata, who got third at Torres Somerville, Luca Thurnhart, and yeah, so we'll see what these guys do. They're clearly motivated to keep things together. Zapata with a very good sprint. It's a very long sprint at Somerville, if you're not familiar with that course. Quite different.
Memorial Day weekend,
yeah.
Plainfield.
Yeah.
The winner there
is it Zapata?
Is here. Mendez.
And
guess who he is riding with, who he's paired with here at Tulsa?
I think I know. It sounds like you really know.
Clever Martinez has found a home with a couple of like-minded, strong riders that if they sync up can be ever dangerous. Easton Mendez was somebody who almost rode away with the race from the field into the last few laps, only getting caught out at the very end. To then come back the next day and win. Have an okay performance at Somerville, but at Air Force, what do we hear? He takes 10 laps to bridge up to the winning move solo.
Ridiculous.
And then wins that group sprint after Brendan Rim goes away solo. So the guy has the ability against all these hitters to make stuff happen. But he's going to be in a Rockland kit, I believe, but very low profile, I would imagine, until the very end of this race, as him and Clever get linked up to try to, outfox, outsmart some of these other teams that have, larger riders, larger teams.
All right, reshuffling here with Miami Blazers, clearly looking very motivated to keep this thing in check. Interesting little shift here, because last season we saw Legion of Los Angeles on the front for almost the entire race. And now this year we're seeing Miami Blazers taking on that onus. I guess they're working for Noah or Corey.
Yeah, hard to say. I mean, if Corey's had to get off, he's going to have to ride into his legs this week and really give a lot of feedback to the team as the race progresses. Noah is their next kind of fastest guy, but I would imagine they're just at the front setting a tempo to just find a comfortable spot, find a rhythm. After a get off, Tyler just definitely probably would like to just ride at one steady pace instead of this big yo-yo type pace after a crash. So they're just sitting up there, but also it places your teams up there, gives a guy like Noah, Corey, or the other teammates a place to land to get in the wheel. And so you see 4 of them right there, basically in a row with one of those Casa 13 guys and Luke Lamparty just in the middle there.
So what's like sort of the ride ethos right now for these guys? Like, are they just setting it like a 400 watts kind of thing? Like, yeah, like what are we talking about?
Yeah, very much a solid, like really high tempo. And there's going to be parts on this course where it's 400 plus watts, and there's going to be some places where it's 200, and this is where you guys have a guy like Tyler Williams just has so much finesse and experience on when to coast, when to recover, and when to apply pressure. Again, coming out of these corners into the longer straightaways it's going to be this ramp up from 200 watts, 250, 300, 350, 400, 500, and make it a big acceleration into the corner. That makes it so hard to come from behind to overtake them. And then when the corners are back to back, he's doing 200 watts. He's recovering, right? He's keeping the legs turning to keep the, kind of the blood flow going and the muscles activating. But it's, not too hard in the sense for them in this moment.
Okay. And like about 30 minutes, 29 minutes specifically into this race, why are they doing so much work right now? Like, this is like, it's way too early for a lead out. So why are they the ones that are tasked with this onus here? Like, why not let another team like Rainstorm do some pace setting?
Yeah, if we look at it, we talked about it just, a little bit ago, is that not everybody on the team got a call up right now. A couple of those guys had to do the work to get to the front, and fight around for 10 or 15 minutes. So you place yourself, do a tempo. It gives somewhere, if Noah's your guy that's sprinting, it gives a place to hide and recover, right? Not fight for wheels, not battle around and everything else. So it's actually a moment for your sprinter to recover. So, it may not look excellent on paper. The lead out's super long, but what it's given a safe space for Noah to just sit on the wheel, have some gels, drink some fluid, to recover after, starting wherever he started and getting to the front.
Ben Oliver is off the front right now, and now it looks like he's getting a little bit of daylight.
Yeah, and he would definitely love help from somebody else. One of those smaller team riders is a good opportunity to go off the front, take turns with a guy, and see what it's like to ride the pace, what that effort is needed to hold off, a chasing peloton and find that rhythm of being successful off the front of a race of this level.
And so we got ourselves sort of a reshuffling here, and we're now looking at 30 minutes in to this race with Ben Oliver taking a little bit of a flyer here, and looks like Miami going to try to get there. Oliver riding about an 80% or so. He checks the big screen to see what his gap is as he comes through turn number 1, and he's only got about 3 seconds, so really nothing to speak of right now, but nice opportunity for him to get above and beyond cancer cycling to get a little bit of airtime in front of the biggest race in America. Oliver continuing to set some tempo here as he dives into these turns. A little bit of wind increase here at the broadcast booth right at the neutral pit just past turn number 1, which means these riders are going to feel a little more headwind as they make this right-hand turn coming down towards turn 5.
Yeah, and typically as the sun sets, right, normally the winds do typically start to calm down, and we've noticed that, but there's still these gusts kind of coming through the buildings, and so it's one of those things where it's, as a rider, you almost prefer a constant wind, constant conditions. I go around corner 3, I can expect this. If I go around corner 6, I expect this. But as the wind dies and there's these random gusts, they can really kind of catch you off guard, mid-corner in, or on a straightaway when you're doing a attack to kind of ruin the rhythm. So it's one thing that's ever changing and something you always got to be thinking about.
Ben Oliver getting a little bit of victory here for himself over Memorial Day weekend at the Harper Memorial Mellon City Criterium, it looks like, and taking second at the Quick Start Criterium presented by Quad Cities Bike Racing. All right, so Ben Oliver hitting out.
Is he a Kiwi?
Is Ben so there is a Ben Oliver
on Mito
Q that is a Kiwi, but I think this is a different one because that one is currently racing up in Canada.
What a wild world.
Yeah.
What are the odds? 2 Ben Olivers.
2 Ben Olivers who race bikes. Yeah. From very different parts of the world, apparently. All right.
We could see Rainstorm starting to, find themselves, organize, and get up there, and as a team, and just kind of claim their spot that says, hey, we're going to ride whatever it may be, 6 through 12 or 12 through 18. But more importantly, just, as 22 laps to go come up on the board, just find themselves again, stay forward, stay out of trouble, and if, for whatever reason gaps do happen, they're surrounded by allies, friends, teammates.
I'm surprised nobody's just bridging across. So I guess they're figuring that he's not extending the gap. They're just sort of letting him dangle off the front right now. So there's no real threat. So
yeah, and the team setting up are all like-minded, right? Thinking of the field sprint. There's enough of those teams organized before the next individual guy that would want to poke across, that would want to go join Ben. And if they make the effort to get there, they're too tired. Now, Ben is looking for some crowd help as I think his legs have expired.
All right, he'll reset himself here a little bit at the front, and we'll see if any counters occur. Rainstorm together. Cream on the next lap, apparently. 21 laps to go now.
So he gave up a lap early to get paid.
Oh, too bad for him. Somebody's going to get paid, though, on this next lap. It looks like Austin Outlaws, perhaps, putting themselves up into the front. So more Williams Racing program. Oh, excuse me, that is Johnny Clark for Miami Blazers.
You can tell by helmet size with Johnny Clark compared to his teammates.
Johnny must have a very long head.
Full of knowledge.
Yeah.
That thing is full of knowledge.
Very arrow. Yeah.
Well, he chose the Vinted helmet tonight. If you definitely look around on these front shots, is you will see a lot of arrow helmets, right? Those 2 or 3% gains, sometimes 1% gains, right? Like, look at that other arrow helmet, and Johnny's wearing a Vinted.
He's old school.
Yeah. But, again, we talked about the heat, and it's much harder to dissipate heat once you get it. So, again, depending on riding style, preference, and things like that, I'm better off being cool than aero. Because if I overheat, it's completely game over, whereas I can deal with the little bit of lack of aero.
So, a little reshuffling. Now Alec Cowan to the front. I also see Corey Williams with the gold helmet with the Belizean National Champions kit up near the front as well. So, nice to see our riders sort of moving themselves up into a position of protection. We're looking about 20-ish laps or so to go. Who's going to get this preem?
Summerhill.
Rainstorm needs a little gas money.
Yeah.
All right, there they go. Danny Summerhill, wearing number 1, gets that preem. Big thanks to Quick Trip for sponsoring our broadcast as we see Luke Lamperti countering that preem, and Zapata covers it immediately. Zapata knows which kit to follow. Can he get there? Ben Oliver actually responding to it from behind, but Luke Lamperti counters the preem. Zapata right on it. Oliver responds. So clearly Oliver's got some good legs because he was just off the front. He has now responded and bridge across.
And this is where the other teams just need to let Luke sit.
Yeah.
Give him 10 seconds. Make it long enough where a lot of guys aren't enticed to go across to add horsepower to this 3-man move, but enough where you can kind of reel it in the last couple laps. But for those other guys where Luke is an absolute danger man in the finish, go let him wear himself out. Go give him death by 1,000 cuts off the front. Try to take a little bit of edge off his final kick. So there's no, as much as it is Luke Lamperti, right? You don't want to give him a leash. You let him tire himself out.
All right, we've got the Flywheel presenting the big ride. St. Francis Tulsa Tough After Party of the Year returns on Saturday night after the races. So if you're here in Tulsa and watching this for some reason, then come on out to the big ride. So come on down, and if you're not in Tulsa, might as well get yourself a plane ticket and get yourself a big ride experience. Scan that QR code on your TV. Let's get back to the race action because Luke Lamperti, a World Tour rider racing here in Tulsa, is actually putting on a show for us as the riders are coming through the start-finish line. We're now hearing Brad Soner over on the stage going bonkers here, and there we are. We've got Miami Blazers coming around. Oh, excuse me, that's Michael Garrison now countering this move one more time. Garrison certainly one rider to watch as we've seen him over and over throughout the season. He is now countering that move by Luke Lamperti.
When you have these guys at this level countering each other and making it faster and faster and faster, it's gonna start wearing out some legs. It's really what you want to see happen if you're on kind of some of these smaller teams that don't have the full lead out power. You want some of these individual heavy hitters to just start swinging.
Yeah, Corey Williams now putting up a Jace here. He's got Lamperti on the wheels here. So Corey Williams is actually quite good at this role. He's often seen as a finisher. A lot of his social media poses him as the finishing kick in SoCal races, but in Easton, for example, he was actually doing a lot of pace setting at the front of that race to keep races in control. And since he's not actually feeling particularly well, this could be a good team contribution for him to really lift the tempo when it's needed, and perhaps now showing that Granigan would be their rider to protect.
Yeah, again, they put a couple cards on the table here by putting Corey on the front with 19 laps to go versus somebody else. So it lets us know really where they're thinking and heading in terms of the finish. And so, again, Garrison, very much like Luke in terms of a guy, is just let him hang out there. Let him sit at 10 seconds so he doesn't keep attacking you to wear you out. Just let him wear himself out at the same rate you're chasing him, rather than kind of chasing attack after attack. But you can see Legion coming to the front with Robin Carpenter as the laps start counting down, and we want to start slowly kind of lifting that pace up and get organized and stay as units.
Look at this, man. Carpenter is just a machine, like driving this. He knows that Garrison has to be brought back in, and it looks like Ty Magner keeping himself nice and safe here. Garrison's going to give up on this chase here as he looks around. Garrison pretty obvious in his body language overall, so he's going to sit up, and that's actually kind of an interesting tactic there for such a strong rider. He just burnt up Corey Williams and put some test under the legs of Robin Carpenter. As soon as Corey Williams is done, he was going backwards through the field. In fact, I don't even know where he is right now. So, yeah, this is it's an interesting way of sort of diminishing your opponent's strength by going off the front and forcing them to chase. And now look at Garrison. He's like reintegrated himself like sixth wheel. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, like Robin Carpenter at the front on the pros ride, we were chatting, and it started to get spicy at the end. Gaps were opening, and we're sitting he's mostly having a conversation at 350 watts as we're trying not to just like fully open the gap. And I go, hey man, I'm starting to get tired. And he goes, oh, you want to close the gap? And I was like, yeah, I'll get on the wheel. And he just went 350, 375, 400, 425, 450, 500. And he's just ripping. It just like completely rides me off the wheel on ride with the pros. And yeah, we get popped, and me and Huff look at each other going like, that's Robin Carpenter. Like, what else do we expect? And then, 10 minutes later he comes back and goes, hey dude, I realized I rode off with your mic, so I had to come back and give it to you.
Carpenter's so good right now. Here he is on the front of the field. We're going to look through the rest of the field apparently, and just to see who's in there and keeping it interesting. And there's Justin Williams with his Red Bull helmet, keeping it nice and cool and in check, standing up a little bit, stretching his back out as we come down through turn number 4. Carpenter on the front, and Johnny Clark there second wheel. Rainstorm with those distinctive yellow kits. No matter what's focused on, there is Justin Williams with the GoPro and the Red Bull helmet. And Cesar Marte right next to him. Marte winning Tour of Somerville this year as he is on a good tear, winning that very long sprint. Marte knowing that Justin Williams is a good wheel to follow here at Friday night at Blue Dome.
Yeah, and he's got Preston I with him as a teammate. And Preston has really come through the ranks as a young guy, just working super hard and become one of these guys with a big engine and really putting himself at the front of these races when they're super hard. Gateway Cup last year, bridged across to that winning move on the hill, day 3 solo to get himself in the mix and just show his ability. And it kind of got him this ride on work hard, be humble, and is kind of one of those key lieutenants to Cesar Marte to move him around, keep him in position, or bring stuff back when needed.
So Cesar Marte, potentially one to watch, a dark horse, with Justin Williams looking very good. Remember, this is only Justin's second week of racing. He was, unfortunately, he was suspended for 60 days earlier this season. And so his first race back was the Armed Forces Cycling Classic last week in Washington, D.C., where 2 races were pretty hot, pretty long. His first foray back into the mix. It's not an ideal preparation for tonight. You need a lot of racing to get yourself into racing form.
I would do whatever I could to get race days in before the biggest races. I would never want to show up to Speed Week with one local race in my legs, or show up to Tulsa with 5 hard group rides in one local race. As sprinters, you always needed, 10 races to get that sharpness, get that feel, get that surplus in your legs. So when you're here and you're sharp, you could feel all those little details with yourself, with the bike, just the environment. So coming in with just a 1 weekend, 1 race day in your legs, super difficult. But we're here looking at Ryan Jastrab in the pit, trying to sort out a flat tire.
Yep, so neutral support here at the St. Francis Tulsa Tough, going to get Ryan Jastrab back into the mix. Jastrab, definitely a diverse rider. He races on the track quite a lot under the Star Track racing program, and he also is now on the road. New program for Jastrab.
Team 6 out of LA.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe spending some time in Europe, but Ryan's one of these guys, young guy, got this really explosive type sprint, and so he kind of needs a race and a course to kind of go into his suit. The big horsepower races like Somerville, not the best. Some of these just like big punchy type ones, he just needs the right place. He doesn't have, he's a little on the smaller side for a sprinter. So he's one of those guys that just needs to really use his track skills to float and find that spot to make advantage of his punch.
Alec Cowan on the front right now, your Canadian national champion, keeping the pace high. Lamperti floating himself up near the front. Andreas Meyer also has been keeping himself tucked in the pointy end of this race. He is right behind Lamperti right now, in fact. Ty Magner with those American champion bands on his sleeve, also looking very comfortable. Ty told me last night at Ride with the Pros that he's had some of the best legs he's had in quite a while.
Yeah, what I was hearing, he was floating around Air Force just with his mouth shut, just nose breathing. and yeah, the results may not reflect that, and sometimes that's the case. You just kind of miss out on something, or it can be unexpected. You put a lot of time in training, working hard, and you just fight like you're always in mud, always in the resistance, and then all of a sudden it just like something happens, and all of a sudden you're like, I've got no china on my bike. All of a sudden this is now easy, right? And the pace is still high, the power is still there, but all of a sudden it like something clicks. And so the work he's put in is paying off potentially in a really good time period.
And we haven't seen him do anything like just take a random flyer and just burn himself. He's really let Robin Carpenter do a lot of this work for him this evening. As we're looking now at 14 laps to go, we're starting to definitely get into the point of this race where strategy and tactics are really going to matter at this point if riders are going to want to start to find success. So the question becomes whether or not Legion has done too much work too early in this field. Similarly, have Blazers done too much work too early? Blazers, including Johnny Clark here, have really burned himself up throughout this entire contest, and I wonder who's going to be left for them at the end to try and control the race, or are they just going to trust that riders like Granigan are going to be able to freelance it to the finish?
Yeah, it's just one of those things in small changes in plan that says, hey, we didn't make it to the front as fast as we thought we were gonna. We need to expend energy in a certain way so Noah can maximize recovery to freelance, to do it one by one, or again, Tyler crashed last weekend. How much time did he take off between from Monday until this weekend to loosen up? And so a guy like that just is that good, that big of an engine, kind of needs to go to the front and just put tension in the legs, just ride, kind of get unblocked, so to speak, and go recover. When you're at that level, you can go do kind of that 10-minute effort, 15-minute effort, and then have the skills and technique to go back into the field and recover at that just below threshold tempo. I mean, like, right threshold at 350 watts, like, that's when you start producing that lactic and that discomfort. But you can go ride 330 and you're not producing lactic, you're clearing it, right? And it's a mental game at that point to be like, this is uncomfortable, but you have to be confident that like you're not building, like you're clearing even though it's uncomfortable. So this is the fine line these guys are riding on, right? And they know their bodies and everything like that.
I'm seeing Mr. Kyle Murphy moving himself up into position as well for Legion of Los Angeles, number 58 there on the now inside, now outside as we go right and then left. Kyle Murphy, a former road race national champion when he was on the rally program, I believe they were called at the time. But Kyle having a long history in our sport and really enjoying his time with the Legion of Los Angeles the past 2 seasons. But he would be one to really do a lot of pace setting as we get into the final, I think 13 now laps of our race.
Yeah, and he's a guy, an excellent road race, right? With Robin Carpenter, they just missed that final move in that second group. Really kind of punching above their weight, so to speak, against those World Tour guys there. And he's a guy that's, you know, not known for his credibility, but has a massive motor, but has enough experience to just be patient and work himself, you know, bit by bit up to the front to really make it to the front, you know, really when it matters, really when, you know, Ty is going to need him the most. And so not spending too much energy to race to the front, you know, by halfway, but get there when it's absolutely needed.
Okay. Cam Fitzmaurice was your rider for Ribble Rebellion that put himself on the front there momentarily just a few short minutes ago. I believe that we will see Ribble Rebellion factoring into the finale. We have not talked too much about them, but again, that's actually a good thing, keeping themselves out of the win, but knowing that they do have the finishing kick in the legs. Bostock or Brown may be the riders to watch for that program, but we'll see what plays out in the next now 12 laps to go.
Yeah, and another rider, you know, team we haven't talked about is ButcherBox. You know, Dusan Kalaba, podium finisher here last year, right? Not a big squad by any means, not a super deep squad, but we can now see themselves start to move into the top 20 as his brothers now join the team. And they have Eddie Hutzman from the, you know, the track program, a very large rider, tall guy, powerful. You know, it's definitely somebody you want on your side to move you around and block a lot of wind for you.
Now we're seeing Ty on the front. I'm a little surprised to see this, frankly, but you know, these guys know what they're doing, right? They are pros, and we are now seeing more of the Ribble Rebellion kits moving up into the front. I'm counting around 3 in the top 15 wheels unofficially.
You can just see by the body language, he's not putting out power. He's just found himself here. You know, he's just pedaling, and if guys are going to let him pedal at 250 watts to stay there, you know, again, he's not taking on water at 250 watts.
Yeah.
And he's, again, it's the energy expent here, just kind of riding the front, is less than sitting behind ButcherBox or around Rain Energy, you know, bouncing around, fighting wheel for wheel, and doing these 700 little like 3 or 4 pedal strokes. 700 coast, 700 coast, 700 coast. Like, that's going to take a lot more out of you than just sitting at 250, 300, you know, even potentially 340 watts here as, you know, we kind of go into the headwind here. And Ty is smart enough to ride as hard as he needs to ride. He's not going to do any more at this point than he needs to just kind of hold position. I
actually just I got a glimpse of Mendez in the mix. He's in the back third of the field. Surprising to see him that far back after having such dominant 2 weeks leading into this block of racing.
Yeah, and I think he's new to do these block of racing.
Okay.
So we have no idea if he's overcooked it or he's just super confident. And is his timing going to be right in the sense of moving up? But there was just a crash.
Yeah, we got a number of riders down in turn number 1. Number of riders.
DCC.
Yeah, a lot of DCC riders. This crash occurred in the front third of the field. So front
Stefan
third.
Roth. The Sound Pony Assassin Squad.
In his 18th Tulsa Tough, I believe.
The only rider to participate in every edition.
Pavel Kalaba here, number 20 for ButcherBox on the front. Let's get a look at this replay here. Garrison floating out. Looks like DCC trying to float. Oh, it's on this side of the screen, and riders just taking a tumble with DCC at the bottom, and Outlaws also out there. Let's get another look at this from the outside. Yeah, just a little bit of crossing of wheels here for some of our riders. Oof, that's a tough tumble there in turn number 1. So Outlaws going down, DCC going down, and ButcherBox.
And some riders just stopping for no reason. I mean, just keep moving. Like, you're interrupted, it's inconvenient, but don't just stop to stop. It doesn't let the officials really assess the situation of guys that may be actually injured or on the ground. And now Brandon Fury is in the pit for the second time.
Yeah, this is his second stop.
Not ideal.
Second stop for Mr. Fury into the pits this evening. So a large number of riders will be entering the race again. Who's that? Looks like Connor White for Austin Outlaws also into the pit for everybody. The officials are going to try to hold them, but good luck. These guys are ready to rip. And here we go. I hear Brad Stoner out there screaming, which means there may be even a preem or something going on. These guys are...
10 laps to go. There might be ACC points.
Maybe. Okay, so something's happening at the start-finish line because Brad Stoner and Frankie Andreu are over there on the stage, and they're doing a great job getting this crowd absolutely stoked for tonight. This is an amazing crowd here in Tulsa in the Blue Dome District. If you guys have never actually come to Tulsa for this race, I definitely recommend you book a ticket. It is awesome. I love this race. I love this night. And, you know, the town really turns out for it. I'm looking at tens of thousands of people. I mean, it's amazing. And this is such a great atmosphere. These guys putting on an amazing show. Looking at, it says 10, maybe at 9 at this point for our pro men. This broadcast brought to you by Quick Trip. They're more than a gas station. They are the official sponsor of the St. Francis Tulsa Tough live stream. Big thanks to Quick Trip for joining us and bringing the broadcast worldwide to the masses who follow cycling from around the world on TulsaTough.com. My name is Gabe Lloyd. I'm joined with Daniel Holloway here. You're looking at the final 10 laps of your men's professional race here Friday night at St. Francis Tulsa Tough Blue Dome in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Johnny Clark is on the front, and so far this race has stayed largely together. We've had a few riders taking flyers off the front for moments at a time, but this race has been kept together, so we are going to be looking at potentially a field sprint, but the wind is starting to pick up. As you can see, those trees and the flags, and we just had a crash last lap, which means that things are nervous, things are looking, and we're starting to see some setups here. 9 laps to go now in our pro men's bike race.
Yeah, and so that's probably, I mean, they're doing right around 90-second laps. So, I mean, we're looking at just under 15 minutes here. So, I mean, you know, at 9 laps to go seems short. On time, we're just in that 15-minute window. So, you know, if we're thinking about a 20-minute power test, right, we're on the cusp of what guys can, or just under the cusp of what guys can do all out for 20 minutes. And it's shared work, but it's still, again, you do your all best 20-minute power, and I'm on your wheel, right? I'm doing considerably less. So as you think about the lead-out guys, is they could be doing their best 20-minute power, shared work. There's still a big draft. There's still a lot of recovery. So you can't go all out, right? Because you need to be able to continue to lift as we get closer into that 7-minute, 5-minute, 3-minute window to leave your just last couple of guys, you know, into that 90-second sweet spot of just emptying the tank for your sprinter.
Mr. Kyle Murphy now on the front, starting to lift. They've reserved Kyle Murphy until this point in the race. This is Kyle's first time on the front of the bike race. We expect that he will be used at this point to really drive this pace setting here. So we're looking at one final DCC rider. This is one of the riders that crashed 2 laps ago in the pits right now. These guys come over to us from Germany for a nice block of racing, again starting with us in Easton and Somerville, then into the Armed Forces Cycling Classic in DC, and now here in Tulsa, Oklahoma to wrap out this 3-week block of racing. Here we go, now looking at 8 laps to go, and Legion of Los Angeles on the front. We are about to see ourselves some organization.
Yeah, I mean, in these last couple laps at a race like Tulsa, I would not be surprised if there's multiple preems in here to just add to the excitement, add to that, you know, the chaos that is Tulsa. Curated chaos, the beautiful dance.
Absolutely.
But it's really good. It does, in a sense, help keep it strung out, the pace high, so we're not going through corners 3 wide.
Right, and so I'm seeing Robin Carpenter and Kyle Murphy sort of rotating together, Alec Cowan and then Ty Magner looking protected behind, and then further back we've got Justin Williams. So that's going to be the makeup of Legion of Los Angeles. Now right behind that team you'll see the red jerseys of Miami Blazers, which looks like they're going to try to protect Noah Granigan, but also floating in there Luke Lamperti. Lamperti has been very quiet for the last 30 minutes, right? He opened this up, he attacked off the start line.
Yep.
And now, then he reserved himself. What do we think Lamperti's strategy is here in the final, let's call it 10 minutes of racing?
Yeah, he's just kind of protecting himself, looking after it. You know, and again, just he's a racer, he's a race winner. You know, he definitely wants to win, but he's, I think, in a fine balance of also staying safe, and you know, has the ability with these World Tour legs to do these 800 watts for a minute, 1,000 watts for a minute. So if we're talking about a 90-second lap, I mean, he can go super long, and he's a guy, if he times it right, catches the momentum on his side, and people aren't give him a little bit of a leash. If he's doing 1,000 watts, what do you have to do to get it back? 1,200?
Yep.
How many guys can do 1,200 for more than 10 seconds?
Not this guy.
So it's he's a guy that could go long on a course like this and make it stick. And he's got the engine. I mean, those World Tour leadouts, when you're bouncing around, the last couple Ks, you're sitting over 400 for 5 minutes.
Right. And he's been instrumental in that. This guy is not just like gone to Europe and participated in a few races. He's actually instrumental in leading out Quick Step.
We're at UAE Tour, going for himself, getting second on multiple stages, podium multiple stages. So he can do it. So, with respect to this peloton, right, this pace for him personally isn't what he's been experiencing in Europe. So he's going to be able to kind of move around at will and not necessarily take on as much water as some other guys to hold and maintain or gain position.
And in fact, he actually just did a little bit of a lift there to move from about 12th up to around 6th. He wanted to insert himself right behind Legion here, and it looks like Johnny Clark may actually give him that space. So Lamperti here racing for Quick Step Soudal. That is a World Tour program. Of course, if you're tuning into this, you probably know that, but I just want to make that clear. Oh, and another crash. We're getting
that new team out of New York.
The 13 guys, they're maybe starting to see a little bit of nerves. Looks like 2 of the 3 getting taken down, and we are outside the free laps to go, I believe. I think we got now Alec Cowan coming up to the front, your Canadian national champion. Cowan now talking to Kyle Murphy as they come by us here at the the neutral pit, excuse me. Kyle Murphy now driving, and Alec Cowan now barking orders at them. These guys need to keep this thing moving because they cannot allow the other programs to come up and around. So we were just talking about Luke doing a big amount of watts, and you have to go more than those watts to get by him. Talk about this effort here. What does this mean for a program like Rainstorm? Like, how much effort do they have to do to drag race a program like Legion?
Yeah, it's not ideal, but they're biding their time, and I just love Kyle's position on the bike, elbows in, head down in the hole, to just be efficient at 500 watts, setting the tone and keeping the pace high, and his sprinter Ty just kind of out of trouble. And yeah, Rainstorm is just kind of tucking in and using their guys, not necessarily to push the front, but to still be in the wind and keeping the rest of their team organized and in position. But we're going to see Rainstorm about 2.5 laps to go with that big headwind on the backside of courses. You got to try to leave it a little later than you normally would on a neutral wind course.
Right, yeah. The headwind tonight has been a significant factor in this race. We believe that it is really starting to cause some effect here, and it looks like, well, it's one of the Legion riders out there, but it sounds like Brad Soner's going crazy over there on the stage, which means a pre may very well be coming into effect. Tanner Ward is the rider for Legion of Los Angeles that is no longer part of this race at the back.
So he came off the bike earlier in the race. So that could be, playing a small role, or the role in why he's not there for them.
Okay, so I think we're at 5 to go, and we could be looking at some ACC points on the line. Remember, this is the opening night of the American Criterium Cup this evening.
And I love it. Johnny Clark is not giving Luke an inch. He's like, hey, I respect the jersey. I respect what you've done. But it doesn't I'm going to make it easy for you. I've got a job to do. I've got Noah to take care of. I've got Tyler Williams to take care of. You don't just get to ride up here next to us. Go ride behind my guy. Don't come up here and think you're going to ride me off the wheel just because you're in a nice blue jersey. Yeah. Love it. Johnny still's got that dog in him.
That's amazing. Johnny Clark, his brother Hilton, having won a number of races in the U.S. Back in the day when United Healthcare was the big blue train. Here we go. 5 laps to go. And Kyle Murphy on the front. Our quiet man from Vermont now absolutely absolutely laying fire on this field. Thanks to American Pain for these drone shots at the St. Francis Tulsa Tough. Field dynamic right now, thanks to this drone shot, showing us that the front 8 wheels are single file and that control is being set by Legion of Los Angeles. But is it too much too soon? Mendez now coming off course, by the way. So that's off camera. We're seeing that live here. So we're now looking at the ACC standings from last year. Danny Summerhill taking the win. Alfredo Rodriguez in second. Dushan Kalaba third. Brandon Fury fourth. And Clever Martinez in fifth. Last year, these are last year's results. We're in 2024 though right now, and we are at Friday night in Blue Dome. 4 laps to go right now. We think 4 to go as Kyle Perry is on the front. Robin Carpenter going to rotate with him. Ty Magner now coming up to the front to try and protect, as Legion of Los Angeles now going to send thank Kyle Murphy for his service, and he will get to go to the after party this evening.
And Legion's now like got to be delicate with this. It's 4 to go, and they virtually have, you know, 1 guy left, being Robin. I mean, you need Alec to be there with a half lap to go. So trying to get Robin to go this long, I mean, not that he can't, but again, when you have a full Rainstorm Energy team behind you, you have ButcherBox with a couple of guys, DCC's moving up, Ribble is in the wings. You know, Robin is going to need to dance the most delicate dance here in these last couple laps to keep Ty out of trouble.
Right. I mean, Robin Carpenter very capable on his own in breakaway situations, but look at Robin's face. Oh, another crash on the back straight there. So, you know, nerves are high, elbows are out, and guys are going down, unfortunately. But Legion of Los Angeles now going to be coming into what we think is 3 to go, as we see ourselves here at Friday Night Blue Dome as the St. Francis Tulsa Tough. Robin Carpenter is now gritting his teeth in order to keep the pace high, and Carpenter pulls off.
Between DCC and Rainstorm Energy just behind the major lead out, as the new teams are starting to fight for position. And I'm not seeing Justin Williams this year finesse his way to the finish.
Yeah, I don't see it quite yet. Look at this DCC just taking a sip of the bottle real quick. So,
legend. Drinking with 3 to go.
Wild. Cowan comes back to the front to try and keep this pace high, and Ribble now putting him
next to the curb.
Justin.
And was Justin involved in that crash? It looks like he was.
Oh no, Justin Williams involved in a crash.
4 to go.
He's holding his arm. He is not in a good spot. Justin Williams now out of this race. He was involved in that crash that we thought was a minor effect of this field, and it turns out it has taken out Justin Williams. Clever Martinez is now moving himself up into the mix at the front, as Martinez, definitely a rider to watch. He has been on the velodrome for the past few months, representing his home country of Venezuela, trying to qualify himself into the 2024 Paris Olympics. Martinez, definitely a rider to watch at this point in time. We have not said his name once throughout this broadcast. Martinez, black helmet, GoPro on the helmet. It's going to be hard to see right now, but he's got a white shoulders, blue body. There he is, Martinez, now coming through. Nice work by our camera team to capture Clever Martinez as he comes through. He could be an outsider to consider here tonight at St. Francis Tulsa Tough Friday Blue Dome event. American Pain bringing us these amazing drone shots. Thank you guys so much. And here we go. We're now looking at 2 to go, I believe. And we got ourselves a Gambler's Frame.
And Ty is now left by himself. We're going to see, you know, one of the best crit racers of this era do this solo dance in the last couple laps. I mean, you know, he's just riding what he needs to ride. You know, hopefully he's gotten information that Justin's, you know, not back there and to not overdo it and just protect himself. But now we're looking at Rain Energy, Ribble going, you know, shoulder to shoulder into the last couple laps. Brandon Fury is just sneaking in there with Spencer Movinzada and Clever Martinez hanging there. But, you know, I really like with the wind conditions where Noah Granigan is. He's in that blue and gold feed helmet just behind there, right around Dushan Kalaba in that all black arrow helmet from Butcher Box.
$1,000 gambler's premium on the line, we think, with 2 laps to go. It looks like Ty Magner's found himself on the front, and Luke Lamperti's there. Here comes DCC Alpecin on the outside, if we can see it. And again, reminder that Justin Williams has crashed out of this race. He perhaps is quite injured with a broken wrist of some sort, but we will get that intel to you guys a little bit later. Right now, we're still racing bikes. Ty Magner on the front, former champion here. He's got World Tour rider Luke Lamperti right behind with 2 DCC Alpecin, and then you got Ribble. Then you've got a full Rainstorm Racing squad right behind, including Danny Summerhill and Alfredo Rodriguez. We're going to be coming into 1 lap to go. Daniel Holloway, oh, what's the story?
Yeah, Rainstorm just played this ultra patient. They've got the most guys. Ribble's down to 1, DCC down to 2, Butcher Box 1 guy, Noah moving around by himself. It's going to be a dogfight down the backstretch. You know, now we have DCC coming underneath Luke Lamperti, and Luke just playing it perfect to just be like, it's not my job to lead it out, but it's my job to hold position. So, but Rain Energy now coming over the top with Summerhill going bar to bar with DCC Alpecin, Gomez, Alfredo, and Jordan Para as their sweeper coming into, that was corner 3 down into 4. Now this is where it gets tricky. They're going into a headwind now. They come around this corner. It's going to be a headwind right, probably neutral, left into a long headwind going into the last couple corners. But Dushan Kalaba's got a teammate just outside the screen to move him and keep him in position behind the Ribble rider.
Lamperti taking the $1,000 gambler's premium just a few moments ago. Can he position himself?
And Jordan Para slides out.
That's right, Para is out. Rainstorm coming undone here. It is now Danny Summerhill on the front trying to level this up. He is now clear. They're working for Alfredo. Now Gomez takes over as Gomez now out of the saddle. He was a very strong lead out man. They are coming. They're working for Alfredo Rodriguez, but Lamperti is on the wheel. They're coming into the final 2 turns, and it's Gomez on the front. Rodriguez is right behind. We're going to try to take this to the line.
And Luke on the inside.
Lamperti takes the jump on the inside. Does he have the legs to sprint it to the line? He just won the Gambler's Premium, and Luke Lamperti, ladies and gentlemen, will take Friday night Blue Dome at St. Francis Tulsa Tough.
Man, what I mean, World Tour legs at its finest. Noah Granigan coming from behind a little bit to maybe get second, you know, and just, that is World Tour sprinting. That is
world class. He took the $1,000 Gambler's Premium. He then repositioned himself behind the DCC Alpecin lead out. Rainstorm tried to come over the top to take it over. He repositioned himself into 5, and then in the acceleration into the headwind, he repositioned again to get himself second wheel, and out of the as Rainstorm took over the pace setting thanks to Summerhill and Gomez. Lamperti onto the wheel of Rodriguez, and then he jumps again. Here we go. We're going to watch this replay one more time.
That's how just delicate the back headwind is, right? That if that headwind and just you're timed off by 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it can absolutely, you know, be the worst. And Rainstorm likely got caught out a little bit by that. And yeah, we guess don't quite know. Maybe they were setting up at par, and when he goes down, you know, that was the guy they were missing. But it's hard to say that Luke still wouldn't have done it.
So this is the moment here where Summy goes to the front. He's first wheel right now, and Gomez is second wheel in the yellow. We're talking about the kits in yellow. Summerhill is going to make this right-hand turn, and Para slides out. So that may have disrupted the strategy of Rainstorm. They're going to regroup here as they make this left. This is now headwind that Daniel was just describing. Now into the headwind. Out of the saddle is Brian Gomez. Right behind him is Alfredo Rodriguez. Now, under normal circumstances, this is quite favorable for Rainstorm. However, with that quick step Soudal kit behind them with Luke Lamperti, this is the point where World Tour legs take over. He jumps it. And what happened to Rodriguez there?
Skips a wheel and drops his chain. That's what happens to Rodriguez, and he's got to try to make up ground. So now that we see that back on the replay, we see the incident that kind of took him out of that direct competition to miss out on the podium spot.
We'd like to give a shout out to Noah Granigan, though, from Miami Blazers. Great ride by him. But Luke Lamperti, your winner here tonight for Friday night Tulsa Tough Blue Dome, St. Francis Tulsa Tough. great way to kick off the night of racing. It looks like Frankie Andreu is going to get a few words with Luke as he comes back around. But thank you guys so much for joining us here again for this great coverage of the St. Francis Tulsa Tough for Friday night at Blue Dome. My name is Gabe Lloyd, and I'm joined by Daniel Holloway, and this has been an absolute fire night of racing. Our pro women's races were absolutely amazing through and through, and then our pro men's race, which just concluded, we saw Luke Lamperti returning to the top step in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Luke Lamperti fresh off of the Giro d'Italia, by the way.
Yeah.
So, you know, clearly showing us that his first season is going quite well. He's forgotten to go do his final interview, though, with Frankie, so get him up there and get that few words with Frankie Andreu at the start-finish line. Thousands of people here in Tulsa, Oklahoma to spectate, cheer on our riders from around the world who have come to race with us this evening. This is Johnny Clark and the Miami Blazers, who had a great night. They saw Noah Granigan finishing on the podium this evening.
Yeah, so I mean, like, as we saw, that work that they put out, you know, paid off for a podium. You know, and it's not the traditional format and how to do it, but very much led by the wisdom of Johnny Clark there on saying, hey, this is how, you know, I think we need to ride to get our best chance of success. Is, you know, maybe we don't have that outright raw horsepower and speed to really go toe-to-toe, but what we can do is keep Noah just super calm, super rested as long as possible, and trust that, you know, Noah's got the skill and ability to kind of take care of himself to land on those podiums.
Noah's a very capable rider. He has had great results for himself through and through, so hats off to him for his great positioning and to pay back the hard work of his team, as he just said. DCC Alpecin gave it a good go there at the end. I'll have to look at the results to see where they actually finished out. Yeah,
so here we see the final couple of corners. That's corner 6,
yeah, so
no, 5 with Para sliding out.
And thanks to All American Paint for these drone shots. This is the three Rainstorm Racing riders. That's Summerhill pulling off, and Gomez tries to lift here as best he can. And he actually does the job quite well.
Yep.
Right? And he creates a little bit of separation that only Granigan, it looks like, and one other rider were able to hold on to. This is the point where Alfredo Rodriguez skips his chain. We'll see if we can get a capture of that, but Lamperti takes advantage of that. He makes the jump, wins by a bike lane at the line.
Yeah, so that was Dusan Calaba in the other red jersey, and Clever Martinez there in 6th.
Looks like Gomez may have gotten himself up there too, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe just barely on the podium for such a strong lead out. But Rodriguez was doing, you know, everything right. Just that wheel length off his teammate, again, to be able to accelerate and get that rush into, especially on uphill, but skipping his wheel and dropping the chain.
So there we see Lamperti taking the win on the right side of off the screen. That would be Gomez in 2nd and Noah Granigan in 3rd. That's unofficial, of course. We're just a couple guys watching a bike race.
But you know what's amazing is just how excited Luke is to win Tulsa.
Right.
You know, after everything that he's done so far.
Tulsa Tough back in 2022. This is a perfect start for you to be able to come back here and win here in Blue Dome. What does this mean for you?
Yeah, it's super nice to come back and race in the U.S. This is my first race in the U.S. this year, so it's super nice to be here and enjoy Tulsa. And yeah, the fans are amazing, so it's always fun to come back and be here.
Just coming off of racing at the Giro d'Italia, 21 days straight. Let's just call it 100 miles every single day. Coming back here, hour and 10-minute bike race, great hotels, great food. How different is it?
Yeah, it's a lot different, but it's nice to do an hour instead of 5, so for sure it's good.
Hey, Blue Dome, your winner here in 2024, Luke Lamperti.
Well, we're going to have Luke on the podium very shortly as we are inside of 2 minutes to our podium presentation. 2 minutes to the start of our pro women's podium. Then we'll go pro men and introduce you to our American Criterium Cup leaders. 2 minutes to podium.
Through his own development here at St. Francis Tulsa Tough over the years, and then to return for a little bit of fun with everybody here and congratulating all of his other athletes and racers. All right, Luke doing some official stuff here.
Yeah, he's just signing into USADA, the anti-doping agency here, with his chaperone. So really nice that Tulsa has that here to make sure that, you know, everybody's
On the up and up.
Up and up, playing by the rules.
We have a podium presentation coming up next. We're going to do our women's podium, our men's podium, and then don't forget, if you are here in Tulsa, we have the big ride tomorrow, I believe. It's like a music festival. It's all sorts of cool stuff after Saturday night in the Arts District. So if you're in Tulsa listening to this, make sure you plan to come on out tomorrow night to the Arts District. They're going to have the big ride hanging out with us. We'd like to thank Quick Trip for bringing us the live stream this year, bringing Daniel and I out for our second year of calling the shots here on the live stream. A great production here by our local crew.
So hashtag your favorite number quick step.
Oh yeah.
Let us know which.
I hear 55 is quite popular.
Is that the one?
I hear it is.
I don't think I have quick trips in my region. What makes one different than another?
You know, I think that
we need to get educated.
Yeah, we could get educated and think about all the different numbers. I don't really have quick trips in my region either. We'll have to get some local intel on what makes certain stores different than others, I guess.
Send us DMs, the Call Up podcast.
Yeah.
Let us know what's what with Quick Trip.
Yeah. Last year, Daniel and I, we actually started a podcast called The Call Up. Last year was our first time commentating together, and we actually ended up creating a podcast off of this. So go check that out at The Call Up. We talked about tonight's race on there and a little pre-show. We made some predictions.
Yes.
I think we did pretty well on our predictions.
You might have killed it.
Hey. I learned from the best.
It's good young man. But no, yeah, check it out. We talk about races before, we break them down after, really go develop the tactics and really kind of just expand the sport.
Yeah, we like, I've learned a lot over the past year. Daniel brings so much knowledge and composure to this side of the sport and really trying to help us all understand the sport just that little bit more. So do check that out at the Call Up. We're here at St. Francis Tulsa Tough. This is Friday night at Blue Dome, the beginning of what we like to call Crit Mass here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going to bring the podiums to you guys here right now in a moment's time. We got our pro women up first, followed by our men. Don't go anywhere, as we like to honor those women and men who have had great success here in Tulsa tonight.
And your women's pro winner from Legion of Los Angeles, welcome the Queen of Blue Dome, Kendall Ryan. Kendall will slip on her leader's jersey. After day one, she will be your Omnium leader headed into day number 2 tomorrow. As Kendall zips up your Tulsa Tough leader's jersey, make a little noise for your pro women's podium with Kendall Ryan on the top step. We'll get some champagne to our winner. And I'll tell you, they know how to celebrate here in Tulsa. Kendall Ryan, Skylar Schneider, and Alexis Ryan, 1, 2, and 3. All right, we'll move to our pro men's podium up next. Going 3 deep on this one. Starting with third place, riding for Miami Blazers. Welcome to the podium, Noah Granigan, third place today. That'll take us to second on the blocks, riding for Rainstorm Racing. Next up is Brian Gomez. And your pro men's winner on night number 1, it is my honor to welcome to the top step, Luke Lamperti. Lamperti zips up the jersey. He will be your Omnium leader headed into day number 2. Luke Lamperti, Brian Gomez, and Noah Granigan, your podium on night number 1.
You want the sugar one? Yeah. Just give one.
And a little champagne celebration for them as we get ready for day number 2. We'll see if Luke Lamperti can defend his Omnium Leaders jersey. All right, up next we move to the ACC presentations, the American Criterium Cup. And we will start by awarding our Moo Moo Sprint jersey to the top sprinter from our mid-race sprint. All right, so let's get started with our Pro Women's ACC Sprint jersey. You watched her sprint out of the group in our mid-race sprint earlier tonight, riding for DNA Pro Cycling. Welcome your sprint leader, Riley McMullen. There she is, Riley McMullen in the green Moo Moo ACC Sprint Leaders jersey. All right, as Riley makes her way off, we will next move to our men's ACC Sprint Leaders competition. You watch this guy sprint out of the group in the orange jersey for Rainstorm Racing. He's going to be wearing green tomorrow. Welcome, Danny Summerhill. Danny Summerhill wearing the green Moo Moo Apparel American Criterium Cup Sprint Leaders jersey. All right, next up, we'll move to our ACC Overall Leaders jersey. By virtue of her win tonight on the first stop of the American Criterium Cup, your leader after stop number 1 of the ACC will be Legion of Los Angeles' Kendall Ryan. There you go. Kendall Ryan zipping up her red ACC Leaders jersey presented by Moo Moo Apparel. Kendall Ryan, your ACC leader after stop number 1. A little more champagne celebration for Kendall tonight as she picks up the ACC lead after stop number 1. That'll take us to our final podium, your Pro Men's ACC Leaders jersey. And of course, by virtue of his win tonight, no surprise here, welcome back to the podium, Quick Step's Luke Lamperti. Where's Luke? We forget to grab him? We'll make one more call for Luke Lamperti to the podium, please. Luke, make your way back to the podium, please. There we go. Luke Lamperti going to zip up his ACC Leaders jersey presented by Moo Moo as he will be your ACC leader after stop number 1.